I learned in the midst of journey of niching down for me, how I struggled to niche down in my industry because I wanted to help everyone with everything all the time, which is what some people may be famous for doing. Right? Well, my name is Monica Michelle Marketing. I am the Solutionist Marketer, and I assist tiny businesses getting their business, their marketing set up on systems so that they can continuously drive leads. A lot of times, what happens is you're driving leads by yourself or with your team, and because you don't have a marketing specialist in your team, there's things that you're missing out on, and it becomes frustrating, right? And that's where we come in to help support you with your marketing efforts. So if you can hear me, because I don't know why I have an earpiece in my ear and I'm holding the phone to my face as if I need to do both. So if you can hear me, let me know that we are in a good place, in a good space, because I'm getting ready to tell this story in its fullness and the effects and how I felt as I was moving through it. And I've learned over the years that this is not a unique experience to me, but this is an experience that we all have. This is a human experience. One of my clients are at a college, and we always talk about this is part of the human condition. This is a part of the human experience. You're not the only one experiencing this. You're not the only one to ever experience this. You will not ever be the only ever person. But a lot of times you feel as if this is just you and this is unique to you. So, granted, the way I move through this may be a little different than the way you move through it, but trust me, there are similarities and there's tons of places that we overlap. Now, I'll be watching the comments. So, as I'm watching the comments, I'm definitely going to attempt to answer any questions that may come up. And if I am stepping on your toes, or if you are in agreement because you have felt that way or you're feeling that way, then by all means, let me know. So, when I was a kid, the thing that we all do, I've been trying not to do it as much and trying to stop doing it. I was asked, I don't know how many times, that same question over and over. And that question is, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? That was the question that I started getting. And the earliest that I remember that question was in third grade. So once I received the question, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? I thought about it. Up until that point, I had never really thought about it. But I thought about it and I said, I just want to help people and make them happy. Well, you can't get paid at doing that. That's not a thing, Monica. You need to pick a thing. So I said, well, I used to watch Mr. Ed all the time on TV. At Nick at Night, I was able to stay up super late and catch an episode or two of Mr. Ed. And Wilbur, his owner, for all y'all who know, he was an architect. And I liked how he sketched and he was able to sit in silence and dream things up. And he was able to say, we need to build a house. And so he would sketch it out and he would dream of what this house would look like. He would figure out what goes where and how. And I thought that was the most interesting thing ever because someone can say, I want something, I want a building, and he was able to sketch it out. So I thought that was really interesting. And while I wasn't good at drawing, I was good at taking ideas of others and planning it out, even when I was in the third grade, right? Oh, this is what we're going to do. We need to do it like this. Oh, we want to see if we can get mom to take us to blah, blah, blah. We need to ask her like this, the youngest one to ask and do it, bet all the things up. And so I said, okay, I want to be an architect. And then I started learning about archaeologists and how they would go and dig and cultivate and find the tomb of King Tut. And oh, there was toilets 942 billion years ago over in ancient Rome. And I would say, oh, this is so awesome. So they spent years and years digging and researching and hieroglyphics and reading the different languages and taking those things and discovering and coming to a better understanding and figuring out what can we apply to today, here and now. I thought that was beautiful. So I always isolated between the two reasons. I loved exploring history and understanding how we can use that to better us now. But I also love saying, what is it that you want to do? Or what is it that we want to do? And figuring out what the plan is to move us forward. Okay, well, when I got to middle school, I don't know where I got this concept from, but I just knew that there was this magical test that I would take in middle school. And once you take this test, it would say, based off of how this person answered the test. These are the top 5 careers that we would recommend for this person. I just knew this was coming. Well, all through middle school, it never happened. I never was introduced to this lovely, beautiful test. So in return, I continue to stick with those 2 things. See, look at that. Wow, that's me. Exactly what it was. And so, how many other people have felt the same thing? Now, I'm learning now as an adult, as I look at my niece and my nephews and then all the other little children that are in my sphere, that there's common things that they're all exposed to that they are ingesting. So let's say it's Bluey. Let's say it's a kid, it was Sesame Street, right? But there's all these things that they're all around, and it helps form their collective view. Okay, we're gonna bring it up forward in the future. Okay, move forward. Middle school, there was no great test. Well, since I did not have a great test to take, and I was not given this test, and no one ever brought the great test up. But, and here's the caveat, I was really good at pretty much anything I put my hand at. I was a cheerleader in the 8th grade. They was like, "Oh yes, you the cheerleader." I was the one that was always on top. I was the one that was always throwing in the air. I was the one that was screaming or making a high pitched sound when they was gonna do a free throw pitch or they was trying to do a punt kickoff or what. Like that me. I was loud, in charge, doing all the things. Prior to that, I was in drama. And I was so good in drama that they asked me to be on the adult ensemble team. So because I was with the adults doing drama and I was no longer with the children, that I was able to go on the road and get a part in one of their scripts. And mind you, I was in the 7th grade and he had me playing a character who is, well, one of the characters that I played, she was bitter because someone had infected her with HIV. And in the midst of her being infected with HIV, she was now bitter and she was spreading HIV to everybody she could. Now, I'm in the 7th grade. I don't know much of nothing about HIV, let alone sex, but I was able to play this role and play it very well. We went all over Georgia doing this thing. So when I left to do cheerleading, because my mama said I couldn't do both, I didn't think it, no, never mind. Okay. I did it for 2 years. I was pretty good at it. And I'm interested in cheerleading. Let me go be good at that. So I made good grades. I was always, my class. I just moved on. High school. Well, I went to a magnet high school. This is a whole nother level of learning. And in the midst of being in high school, I learned that I wasn't the one to always didn't lead the group from the head. So, group of friends, and John Maxwell talks about the leadership. Well, I was the leader that led from the middle. The thing is, I was always purposed to do whatever it is that I wanted to do. So if there was something that I wanted to do and the team or the group didn't want to do it, then I'm still going to do what I want to do. You don't have to go with me. I'm fine with that. I'll go by myself. And so I was always willing to take that path or take that road and make plans and say, okay, this is the plan, and we need to rock with it till the wheels fall off. Like, this is what we're putting together. This is what we said we wanted to do when we were cool, calm, collected, and of good thought. A lot of times we'll have a plan, something throws a rock in it, and then we start veering off. Well, maybe we should do something else. Well, we didn't finish the plan that we anyway, getting off on a tangent. Let's get back to the story. In the midst of that, that's what I learned about myself. And in the 9th grade, I took drafting. We didn't have AutoCAD because I'm still in the mindset of, oh, I'll just go to school and be an architect. So I took drafting. At the time, we didn't have the AutoCAD software. AutoCAD is how drafters design on a computer. So we did it, super did it. We had a T square, we had the weighted pencils, we had the triangles and all the things. I remember one year my godparents even bought me, I want to say it was when I was in the 9th grade, they bought me a little kit with all the different weighted pencils and the triangles. And I was just, oh, this is beautiful. My sisters and brothers couldn't touch it. It was wonderful. I just felt like I was doing all the things. And so I was able to design. Well, I was the best designer in my class. Okay. I'm still going to school to be an architect. 11th grade comes around. People starting to ask again. Well, the school received AutoCAD. They had an AutoCAD program now where you can do it on the computer. I wanted to do it. They said, no, you can't do it because the name of the class is the same. It's drafting. You already took drafting. So I couldn't learn AutoCAD. My teacher told me, or the drafting teacher told me, if you're willing to come in between, like your breaks, you can learn AutoCAD that way, like your lunch, your recess, have recess, but lunch before. school stuff like that. Okay, my free time, no big deal. Because worst case scenario, I'll go to school, I'll do drafting and AutoCAD, and if I don't get a job in the field, I can design my own house and we'll move on. That's how I looked at it, right? It was fun. I enjoyed it. The to go away to competition because they needed somebody to do design. They do AutoCAD on behalf of the school, and they didn't have anybody else that was like in this program. And I was program, and I was learning AutoCAD, so I went to competition. I got third place. Nationwide. Do okay. Well, the career fairs and all the other stuff started happening, and they would come and say, "Well, what you need to come to my school?" And they ended up telling me that 80% of the people never work in their major field. I said, "Oh, well, if that's the case, if 80% of the people never work in the field that they go to school for, well, and I'm not be a doctor. I knew that off gate. I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't want to be a lawyer. Lawyer, you have to get special school. Doctor, you have to have special school for it. So I said, well, I always loved math since the beginning of time. I was doing algebra in the third grade. So yes, I'm just gonna go to school and major in math. That's gonna be my thing. And they said, well, what school you gonna go to? And I said, well, I'll go over to Tuskegee. And they said, well, why do you want to go to Tuskegee? My drafting teacher asked me, why do you want to go to Tuskegee? And then I said, well, founder of the school is a cool dude, get outside of Augusta so I can see other spaces of life. They came to the school. All right. I know not enough to make a completely educated decision on where I need to go. Well, my drafting teacher said, well, you should go to my alma mater, A&T, North Carolina A&T. They have an excellent drafting program. And I said, okay, well, I have a math program too, but that's fine. I'll just go to A&T. Looked it up, did a little research. A&T is in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's an hour from Charlotte and an hour from Raleigh. I said, okay, it's in the middle. So if I wanted to go to an event, I can go forth easy to one place to another. Now, in the midst of all of this, because this is high school, I was also planning events. I was part of teams that were always planning events. My did a lot of stuff at the church, so she started the prayer ministry. She did tent ministry stuff, and so I was always in the room because she helped take care of us. And so we came to the room. We sat in the meetings. We didn't talk because we was told not to talk in the meetings. You get your book or you get your clipboard. But then after the meeting was over, we get in the car, and she was open for conversation. So she asked us, well, what did we think? Now, this was an ideal time because we were able to say practically anything to her about this meeting, the pros, the cons, the goods, the bad, what we perceived as bad. Like we was like, oh, that person over there, they just did it for themselves because of so we were able to give her the full rundown. Oh, this person over here, they have a different agenda. They're not trying to make sure this. Oh, well, why'd y'all do it this way instead of this way? We were able to deliberate. Oh, that's a good word, right? We were able to deliberate and come to a full understanding of what was happening. And then sometimes she took our feedback and did something with it. Sometimes she didn't. But a lot of times, if that conversation was happening of sorting out and understanding and being strategic and having discernment, we were able to do all these things. In addition to that, I was doing concerts and summer conferences with my friend group, so our own little shows. The beginning of 12th grade, the first thing we said on the first day of school, me and my best friend, we're going to have a graduation party on the last, after we graduate. And we planned the entire year and raise money so we could pay for our graduation party. So those are things that were constantly happening. You want to do something? Make a plan. Let's go. And so in the midst of it, and even in that 12th grade year, me and my best friend, we had our little fallouts, but we stuck to the plan. Okay, well, we're going to keep moving. We mad at each other today, but we're not going to be bad next week. So, okay. We go. Now, how many of you all have had plans, had thoughts, you fall out with the person, and then you fall off? What happens then? Or they fall off. And you're like, I thought we were committed to this plan. And so I learned early on that I am not here. I don't connect well with just anybody, with the masses. I connect better with leaders because, like I said, my grandmother helped raise me. And that was one thing that she was big on is that, okay, we have a commitment to get something done. And that thing that we're trying to get done is bigger than how we're feeling about it, or, oh, I'm mad at you. Oh, you hurt my feelings. Okay, well, this thing has to get done. And we're committed to the cause. Keep that in your pocket. All right, so go to college. My dad said stay in Georgia for 2 years and then transfer to A&T. So that's what I did. And college was okay. I went to Georgia Southern first. And then, well, actually, I went to Augusta Tech and had to advocate for myself. They said, well, most students only take 6 classes. I said, well, I want to take 9. They said, why do you want to take 9? I said, because it's the same price as taking 6. And they said, what? I said, the math says 6 and more is the same price. Well, I want to take 9 classes. And you're making me take intro to algebra, which I've been doing since at least the 3rd grade, but you're making me take it. So I know I can take 9 classes. I went to A.R. Johnson Magnet School, as JCJ would say, the cream of the crop. So I'm coming to your tech school. I did 8 classes there. I know I can do 9 classes here. They told me no. I said, let me talk to your supervisor. And I advocated for myself. I went and talked to the chancellor of the school or whatever. And their first thing was, why do you want to take 9 classes? Because they were giving me all the girl coming over here telling me she want to take 9 classes. So when I went back there to them, they said, why you want to take 9 classes? And the first thing I said, well, because my mama told me to. They said, oh, well, let me sign your paperwork then. No problem. Take your 9 classes. Took my little 9 classes. After I'm in class with a lot of people that I know over my life. So in my math class, they all knew that I was really good in math. And our math teacher didn't speak English, was not their first language. And so the students didn't understand for multiple reasons. And they would ask me, or the teacher's talking and no one else is answering. So I would try to help and move the conversation along. So the teacher told me to stop talking in class. I couldn't talk at all. I said, so I'm just supposed to be here. So this is all going somewhere. As I continue to say, okay, well, I'll do class. He said, you can't keep helping them. If you help them, they won't rely on me as the teacher. They're relying on you. Again, I'm leading from the middle. I said, okay, I won't knock. He says, don't raise your hand and answer the questions because I already know you know. So I'm in the class. Now I'm bored because I can't engage anyone. And so I went to sleep. He said, Monica, don't come to this class anymore. Look at the syllabus. When we have a test, come back for the test, and that's it. I said, okay, easy peasy. My little pre-scheduled lunch hour. So I now had a 2-hour lunch instead of a 1-hour lunch that I set for myself. And I was absolutely fine with that. Meanwhile, I transferred to T. They didn't have architectural engineering. And I didn't want to just do engineering, or I didn't want to just do architectural. So I signed up for graphic engineering or graphic communications. They had a engineering field in there. So I signed up for that. And in the midst of it, I was able to take AutoCAD, but I was also able to take classes that taught you how to do things like in the movie Matrix, when he did the bending back and you saw the bullet slow down in slow motion. So I was able to take those types of classes, loved it. In one of my classes, and I'll never forget this story, the teacher explained a concept and my neighbors didn't understand. And so what normally happens is the teacher would teach you something. We had books. After the teacher explains it, then you're supposed to execute. And we had 4 or 5 days to design whatever the thing is. Well, the guy sitting next to me, he didn't understand. He couldn't do it on his computer. Well, I understood it. So I said, well, yeah, I'll help him. No big deal. So I'm helping him because he asked for help. I'm helping him. And at the end of the day, we turned in our assignment on time. He got a C and I got a B. The teacher pulled me aside and he said, Monica, had you not helped your neighbor, you would have got an A on this project. He was very disappointed. He was trying to chastise me. And so I said, but if I didn't help him, he would have got an F. And so the teacher said, right, but you're here for your grade and your schooling. And so I said, well, I understand and I accept it. But at the end of the day, when I go out to get a job or to start my business or whatever, no one's going to say, what did you make on that test in this obscure class, your first year at A&T? They're going to say, can you do the work? So I don't care if I make a B or a C if I'm able to help my neighbor get it because I already have it. So the teacher left me alone because I was able to advocate for my neighbors, right? Like the underdog. If you asking and you need help, why can't I help you? Well, in the midst of all this, started working full time. I got wrapped up into the rat race, forgetting that my initial dream as a child was to be able to help those around me and make them happy. That was the thing that I wanted to do, to make them happy and move it forward. In the midst of this, I was, climbing the ladder. Okay, I'm working this job. I'm doing this. Ooh, the money's coming in good. and I'm able to move up. At some point, God says it's time for you to move forward. And I'm like, I've always had a job. What you mean? He says, you need to quit. What do you mean quit? You can't just quit a job? Who does that? Quit a job without having another one? Lord, let me find another job. Let me wait for this profit share to come through and then I'll quit. He's like, no, it's time to quit. I said, well, let me read this book about how to quit your job by Robert Kiyosaki. Let me pack up slowly and then I'll quit. I told my managers I was quitting. I had my little resignation letter set up. He said, no, you need to go. I said, okay. Well, I'm continuing to prolong. The company is continuing to prolong our profit share annual payout. And so God said, you're not listening. So he had me fired. I was like, okay. They were concerned. I was getting ready to go crazy. I was like, okay, I was supposed to be quit. I done wrote the letter up. I told y'all I was quitting. So I'm good with it. But I went home. And in the midst of me being at home, I said, okay, I can't be big and go to the next thing. So I have to find a way to live off my savings and continue to generate income as I move forward. I said, maybe it's time for me to start my business. Well, I don't know what my business is. At this time, I had a bunch of friends that were at Liberty University on the recruitment team. And they were all guys. They needed help with booking management. They would go out to these different places. People would pay them and they would do their show, whatever their show was. They got paid for it and they set up recruitment. The problem is, as a lot of guys, they weren't that very good with administration. So they were over double booking dates. They were forgetting to get the deposits before they left, all the things. They asked me to be the booking manager. Sure, no problem. They'll pay me for each contract. Well, people are already coming to them, so I don't have to look for the contract. This is perfect. So I'm getting the contracts together, doing all the things, sending it over. And then I got the bright idea. If they're going to Sarasota, Florida to do a show, ooh, what if I got another organization that's next door to Sarasota or in Sarasota to bring them in as well? So now they can be there for 2 nights instead of one. That's 2 contracts. It's going to be easier for them to want to book them because they're already there, don't have to pay as much. And so I started doing that. And in the midst of me doing that, I was like, ooh, I have to do that's marketing. God hit me. I drove and I was praying, like, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And I remember my grandmother had passed. I pulled up to a light. I know the light in Greensboro. And I pulled up to the light, middle of the day. And God said, you're supposed to be doing marketing. I said, ooh, that's an interesting word. What is marketing? So I started doing the deep dive on what marketing is. A great, huge umbrella of stuff. Well, how am I going to pick which one am I supposed to do or how I'm supposed to do? And so I dived into it all. And what I ended up doing, because now other people want me to come and help with their booking and their management and helping me get the word out and get radio drops done. But I ended up going and helping everybody with everything. So someone would come to me, they said, I need help with marketing. I need to get the word out. I said, okay, great. We put, and then they're talking to me and they're saying, oh man, my designer didn't design the flyer. So I said, okay, well, I'll get the flyer together for you because if without the flyer, I can't do the marketing. Stop designing a flyer. Then they say, oh man, I need a press release to go out to all the radio shows. Oh, no problem, because that's going to help anyway. Let me do a press release for you. Oh, I want to get in the magazines. Oh, no problem. I'll take care of that. So I'm taking care of everything. And what ended up happening? I got stressed out because now I'm over delivering. I'm over serving. We talked about that in another room earlier of over serving, giving all the things to all the people. But I was giving so much that I wasn't, and I didn't know how to price. I didn't know how to price for all the things that I was giving. Not to mention the audience that I was assisting primarily, they didn't have the education on what a marketer actually does, and they didn't have the funds to pay. So they were treating me like a VA, and I wasn't a VA. I'm not a virtual assistant. I knew how to do the parts that I knew how to do. The other stuff, yes, I know a little bit about it as well, but that's not what you hired me to do. So you're already underpaying me for what I'm doing, and then in addition to you underpaying me for this, I'm volunteering to do all the other things. People would say, I want to have a introductory or discovery call with you. I said, great, we'll have the call. And then they'll say, well, let me think about it so we can figure out how to move forward. And I'm like, think about it. Just give me the money. So I'm on the phone with you, dreaming with you, laboring with you, helping you see it and planning it out. And and then you say, you don't know if you want to work with me. That's basically what you're saying. I don't know if I want to work with you. Let me think about it and I'll get back to you. They never get back to me. So now I've wasted time. So I moved to a space of saying, no, you have to pay for that intro call Because if you pay for that intro call, you're now coming to the table more committed and more aware and more together. You're more committed to what the process is. And then I said, okay, I need to find a way to my knowledge. So this group of people that I'm connecting to initially, I was connecting with artists that they can understand that, oh, she's no joke. She knows what's good. Well, I was scared to charge what all the other marketers in my industry was charging, because if I who's going to come to me? Who's going to find me? I started writing for magazines because I wanted to get my name out and all the things. Started showing up at the industry events just to volunteer and help out. People would ask me, who am I? And I tell them about my business and we go from there. This is before the GPA or email marketing was happening. So if I wanted to connect with somebody, or if I knew he was going to be at this event, then I would go and find their email address, because there's ways to find email addresses, girl. Let me tell you. You can go to my YouTube channel. And I did a little, but I would go and find their email addresses. I find their wives' email addresses. I find their number 2 at their business email address, and I put them on my email list. And I'm sending you emails. Now, I didn't send them emails every day. I didn't harass them, but I would send them emails so that they can know who I was. What ended up happening is these large groups that I've never met, Cross Movement Records, they would call or they would email me and say, hey, we were just in a meeting, and in the meeting you sent out an email, and just about everybody around the table got your email. And we all looked at each other and said, who is Monica Michelle? Because she's doing all the things. And so they said, we got to call you and find out how we can work together, how we can team up. Sometimes we want to call and say, good job. Hey, you coming to this event because we want to link up. And so I was able to start seeing that I was making some traction, right? People were able to find me on the internet based off of those guerrilla marketing techniques. So fast forward just a bit, what ended up happening is I went back to a 9 to 5 because I was like, I'm not making enough money to do what I want to do. So let me go ahead and get another 9 to 5. And I said, I need to learn sales. I felt like I needed to learn sales better. So I got a sales job. That was the basis of my job. In the midst of sales, I was if I was the number 1, I was always in the top 3 of the company for my sales. Okay, great. My clients would come back and talk to me because I had been in customer service previously. So when I came to sales, I approached it like customer service. And so they always felt like I wasn't trying to swindle them or whatever. Whereas with most salespeople, you feel like you're trying to be swindled. I switched companies again because I moved. I needed to learn how to do sales over the phone to business, different from B2B, different, dealing with a different group of people, a different mindset, a different, money in your pocket. And at that company, I was the top 5 salesperson in our center constantly. I was always in the top 5. And how did that work for me? I sat down and said, let me sit down with those that are number 1 and let me see how they do it. I just need to see success, because if I can see success and I see it enough, I can pick out and see the qualities that made them number 1. And because I'm looking at multiple people, I can see the success in multiple people, multiple ways, and how it complemented their personality type. And then I can say, okay, this I can deduce is going to be a good strategy for me. Pulling from all the successes of others based off of what I've seen and their personality types, based off of my personality type, this is going to be the best way for me to go. Okay, again, I'm in the top 5. My supervisor's leaning on me as a lead. I'm walking around helping the people, training the people. I'm still being in the top 5, top 3 of my team. Great, beautiful. A guy came in and started working there. And whenever the company, as companies do, weird rules of double talk that's not clear, we would look at each other in confusion. And everybody else act like it's no big deal. Like what the person just made sense. Whereas me and him seeing a dragon with 10 heads. And we're like, y'all okay with that? I'm confused. What we supposed to be doing there? And he said and I asked him, why are you here? Because he would come in a 3-piece suit every day. Why are you here? He said, I used to own a dealership. I expanded too fast and I went out of business. So I'm here as an in-between while I get my next business up and moving. Got it. He said, I'm going to ask you the same question because you're not supposed to be here either. I said, wait a minute. He said, why are you here? You clearly can service clients better than this Fortune 500 company can do. Why are you here with them, putting up with the double talk and all the stuff? And I taught myself, because I remembered that it has never been my dream to work for a company for 30 plus years and retire. That's never been I've always wanted to have my own business and to have that flexibility of being able to move and understand the client and to give them what they need in order to move forward. I said, well, I'm still here because I need to learn a little bit more about my craft. He said, okay, well, what's stopping you? When you gonna learn it? Take a day off and learn it and move on. I said, oh. So we started holding each other accountable. We said, all right, you got a week to do this. We leave for a week, we come back. He said, all right, you did your stuff yet? Wait a minute. You rushing me, sir. I'm not gonna go through that whole process with him. But we ended up, he quit, and about 2 weeks later, I quit. Started the own business. Now, in the midst of me starting my own business, I had clients that were already preset. So I was starting with pretty close to what I was making when I was at this corporate job. So I felt pretty decent. And quickly, I started to do what I was doing before, starting to do all the things, starting to be the generalist, starting to be the VA, and saying, why aren't these people renewing their contracts with me? What is the problem? Why are they not seeing an immediate return from the work that we're doing? Why are they not trusting the voice that I'm giving? Because I'm being a generalist. And we talked about niching down on Monday, right? Or Tuesday. Because I'm being a generalist. I'm doing all the things. They don't take my word as gospel when I tell them about marketing, the marketing structure, or whatever we do, because I'm coming off to them as if they have any issue, I know the answer to it. It doesn't matter if I know the answer. It doesn't matter if I can help them with designing a graphic or figuring out their public relations, because I wasn't focused on public relations. That's not what I sold them. I need to, in order for me to be a specialist, when you go to the eye doctor and you say, "Ooh, eye doctor, my big toe been hurt," they're gonna say, "Look like your big toe." That's the same thing you can see. You need to go see a toe doctor. They're not gonna give you advice on it. I'm giving them advice. I'm giving them. I'm accomplished. I'm finding referrals. No, that's not what you came to me for. I should not have been doing that. And so in return, it diluted what was going on. Now I'm working from home all day, and I'm trying to get into a rhythm and a routine. And I realized that I couldn't be a general. And I said, okay, I'm not a VA. I can't just be a marketer. Am I supposed to be a marketer for one group or another? Am I like, how do I narrow this down? And the best way for me to narrow it down was what I've been doing all along, is trying all the things and figuring out what do I like most and what is the market asking and demanding from me. Because there's a market for everything. There's a store, I don't know if we're seeing, my grandfather actually bought this thing. I was like, I don't know if he bought it or found it or somebody gave it to him, but I don't know if you remember, there used to be a fish on a plaque. And I think when you walk by him, he would sing and his tail would start shaking. And so I'm like, there's a market for that. There's a market for anything. So it's not a question of, I want to roll something out and I don't know if the market's going to want it. 9 times out of 10, there's somebody in the market that's going to want it. The question is, are you going to find the people who want it? As opposed to saying, oh, well, I want to make to the boys. No, the boys aren't looking for dresses. The girls are looking for the dresses. So a lot of times we come up with something and we say, well, this is who I want to give it to. Well, we can't do it like that. If we have something we've come up with, then we need to find out who most needs or wants the thing that we're delivering. Or we need to say, these are the people that I want to help. What is it that they need most and give them that? It's one or the other. You can't determine who you're going to give it to and determine what it is you're going to give them. So anyway, I realized that the thing that, and me trying all the things, the thing that do with no, well, the thing that everyone was currently asking me for was for marketing, online marketing support. And in the midst of that, yes, Singing Bass Pro Fish, that's exactly what it was. But I realized that the thing everybody was my current market was asking me for was online marketing support. Perfect. That's what I'm going to focus on. So when they asked me for help with events, which I love doing events, I brought in Lecrae 2 times, and I was one of the key people to bring. Like I was the planner for Lecrae. We brought in Show Baraka. We brought in Jamie Grace. Like I've put over 3 people at it. So I'm used to being an event planner. I'm used to being a mathematician, right? I'm used to learning and deciphering from an engineering standpoint. What is the problem? Okay, great. Let's work through the solution. I can't be all those things. I have to be what you're asking me for that you're willing to pay for. You're willing to pay me for online marketing solutions, period. So that's the focus. I'm not delivering on that, but I'm delivering on all the other things. They're going to feel some kind of way. And these are the two things. Well, the one thing initially was just social media, more specifically on Instagram. So I learned how to do the ads. I learned how to do all of that. People were asking me for it. Beautiful, wonderful. My clients started asking me for website. Okay, great. At first, I was saying, no, no, no. Have the online, the digital marketing together. Let me go ahead and learn websites so I can start charging for that and moving forward. And so when you're moving through and figuring out what is it that you want to do and how do you start somewhere, and then once you master that, you branch out. The two people that I really think about that does this so beautifully was Oprah. When Oprah first started, all she was doing was her TV show. After her TV show, her daily show, she started branching and started producing other shows where she was acting. I remember Oprah Harper's Place. Let me watch it. And then she started her book club, and then her angel club, and then I'm doing a school in Africa. So, but she started with one thing and she perfected it. Gordon Ramsay is really good at that as well. He first said, no, I need to learn how to cook. I need to get a Michelin star. I need to open up restaurants. I need to teach other people how to cook. And then he said, okay, let's get some TV shows together. The first TV show was me going into other restaurants and telling them, we need to fix this. We need to fix the concept. Then he went on and said, okay, we're going to have a show. So all these shows that he's doing is surrounded around food and cooking, but they're all offshoots of the main thing. And that's him knowing how to cook and cook really well. So I said, all right, I'm doing online digital marketing. I started with Facebook and Instagram, started getting consistent results from my clients when they listened and did what I suggested them to do. When we execute, when they gave me what I needed and left me alone, we interacted when need be. So we were able to have this harmony of going back and forth. When we moved forward, then I said, okay, let's do websites. Okay, these websites, getting them, they're not taking me forever, for 50, 1100. So process of growing and expanding is only to your benefit. Now it's time for me to start teaching other people to do this. And that's what I've been focusing on, that and email marketing, because that's the next thing. No matter where your clients are today, TikTok, the U.S. House of Congress, or House of Representatives, they just signed a bill that said TikTok needs to sell their owner needs to check 6 months, or the U.S. is going to ban them. That's what they just signed. So if your clients are on TikTok and you don't have their email addresses, and the United States decides to ban TikTok, how you gonna get to your clients? And so we go back to email marketing, so that way you can continuously develop that relationship and stay connected with them. If any of this is making sense, or you resonate with it and you want to share a little bit of your story or what it is that you do, then by all means, raise your hand, come on up to the stage. But the biggest thing is figuring out what is it that you're supposed to be doing. And next week, we're going to be talking about dreams. I'm so excited, dreams and visions, because you have to figuring out what your team needs in order to run with the vision, but also figuring out what the dream is and when it's a dream and when it's a vision. Like, is this ready to be shared, or is this just a really cool dream and idea? And so we are going to be signing up for all of that, or having those dreams and vision conversations, because your team needs the dream, but they also need the vision. They need to know where they're going and the direction. And so that is the journey of how I learned to niche down. I watched other people do it, how I went through and did it. Join the Facebook group so you can keep up with more things that are coming down the road. We're getting ready to start doing one-on-one calls. So if you're in the Facebook group, you'll be able to have access to that and all the other little goodies that are coming along. And that's it. So great day. I hope you learned a lot. Continue to niche down and figure out what you need and what your market needs so you can move forward. Because at the end of the day, we all have a story. We all have a thing that we're working towards. I would love to see you over on YouTube with me at Monica Michelle S, and over in my Facebook group. I hope you enjoyed, and well, have a great day.